The old mansion on the hill had sat empty for decades. Rumors and stories circulated in the small town about what may have happened there all those years ago. Some said a family was murdered. Others claimed experiments with dark magic took place. For years, no one dared go near the rundown building, avoiding it like the plague. That was until a group of 5 friends decided to spend Halloween night exploring the abandoned property. Jenny, Mark, Emily, Steve, and Melissa were dared by their other friends to go inside and take pictures to prove they weren't scaredy cats. At first, they hesitated, not wanting to tempt fate by disturbing whatever evil may still linger. But peer pressure and competitiveness got the better of them. As the sun began to set on the spooky holiday, the group of friends made their way up the long driveway. The trees loomed ominously on either side, like twisted guardians warning them to turn back. But it was too late now, curiosity and adrenaline pushing them forward despite the growing sense of unease. The mansion appeared even more intimidating up close. Black, jagged shutters covered filthy windows like eyes peering out into the night. Paint was peeling away in long curls, exposing the rotting wood underneath. A crow suddenly took flight from the roof, its caw piercing the still air and making them all jump. "Maybe this isn't such a good idea," Emily spoke up nervously, hugging herself as a chill went down her spine that had nothing to do with the dropping temperature. "Don't chicken out now," Mark declared, always the daring one. He strode forward and pulled hard on the large front door, which creaked open slowly with an ominous whine. Darkness yawned like the entrance to the underworld. No one made a move to go inside at first, hesitating, rooting them to the spot. Then Steve sighed dramatically. "All right, let's get this over with." He clicked on his flashlight and boldly entered the foyer. The others glancing at each other nervously before following suit. Must and mildew assaulted their senses along with the stench of decay. Furniture was shrouded under white sheets like ghosts roaming the rooms. Their flashlight beams danced across the walls, revealing faded wallpaper peeling away and cobwebs in every corner. The hardwood floors creaked and popped under their feet, the sound amplified in the immense empty space. A grandfather clock ominously ticked away their heartbeats in the hall. Too many heartbeats. They all froze, counting each tick and realizing there were more than 5. Something or someone else was in the house with them. "Hello," Steve called out shakily, immediately regretting drawing attention to themselves. Silence answered them heavy with malevolent potential. The group huddled closer together subconsciously for safety in numbers. They exchanged nervous glances, breath caught in their throats, straining to hear any strange noises or movements above the groans and pops of the old building. That's when they heard it. A mournful wailing echoed through the halls, rising and falling in pitch, but lingering long after it should have faded. It was a sobbing unlike any human or animal, full of anguish that gripped their spines with icy talons. They didn't stick around to investigate the source, bolting for the front door as one, the floorboards crying out in protest beneath their pounding feet. Fumbling with shaky hands, they managed to wrench the door open and tumble out into the chilly night air. Their harsh pants steamed in the pale moonlight as adrenaline coursed through their veins. They didn't stop running until reaching the edge of the driveway where their vehicles were parked, collapsing against them in relief, yet still shaking from the fright. "No way! We are not going back in there!" Jenny declared adamantly. The others voiced their agreement. The memory of that lamenting wailed enough to ensure they wouldn't be tempted again. They began piling into their cars, eager to flee the haunted property and enjoy the rest of Halloween far away. But as Melissa reached for her car door handle, she froze. A faint dripping sound came from somewhere overhead, like a leaky faucet. She slowly craned her neck up to scan the roof, her breath catching in her throat. Two glowing eyes peered down at her from atop the mansion, blinking once, twice, 3 times before an inhuman grin stretched impossibly wide below them. She let out an ear-piercing scream that cut through the night, the others whipping around in alarm. There, crouched on the rain gutter as if it had been waiting, was a gaunt figure draped in tattered robes. Its bones shone through translucent gray flesh, stretched too tight. Long, bony fingers ending in wicked hooked talons. They stared, paralyzed, into that grinning skull face as it swung its leg over the edge, lowering itself down to the side of the building with a sickeningly fluid motion. As its bare, decomposing feet hit the ground with a crunch, its gaze flickered over each of them in turn, seeing into their very souls. Its maw opened wider. Wider than should be possible, as an unearthly moan rose from deep within its chest. The friends stumbled back in horror, realizing too late they were being herded away from their only means of escape. Behind the creature, 2 glowing orbs emerged from the mansion doorway before resolving into the forms of cloaked figures. More were coming. The group screamed and turned to flee into the woods, snapping branches and brambles clinging to their clothes as they plunged into the dark forest blindly. They could hear the skittering, slithering noises gaining behind them, the wailing moans that spoke of souls damned lingering forevermore. Panic lent them speed, but the trees seemed to close in, trapping them in a labyrinth with nowhere left to run. Stumbling into a clearing, they realized with sinking horror it was a large stone circle. Rune carvings encircled a raised stone altar stained black, a foul stench emanating from it. Shadows moved at the edge of the ring, bony limbs and tattered cloth emerging from the tree line. They were surrounded by at least a dozen of those things, with more closing in, and had wandered straight into their unholy sacrificial site. The robed figures spoke in rasping guttural tongues, beckoning their prey forth with shriveled purple tongues darting between cracked teeth. The friends huddled together back to back, sobbing as the macabre congregation closed the noose. One let out an unearthly cackle as it lunged forward, talons outstretched. Their screams were cut short, dissipating into the night as the entities of the forest claimed new souls for their dark rituals. The moon shone down cold and uncaring upon the blood-splattered stones. An eerie chant rose up once more into the bare branches swaying gently overhead, carried on the breeze out across the sleeping town. A warning. None would disturb this haunted place again, for who could survive an encounter with forces from beyond the veil of mortality? The curse of the old mansion was sealed in fresh spilled life, dooming all who tread within its walls to damnation everlasting. Its grim secrets would remain hidden for another century, until the next unwary victims arrived to have their souls devoured, fueling the eternal evil that lurked in the endless night of the forest.